I want to get plugged in here. This is something I want to do, and that's not for for business reasons or anything. For my personal passion, getting back to children need. Children are almost normal in any community. So being able to serve them meant a lot to me.
I want to welcome to the show Tim King Jr. of Virginia Business Systems. So Tim, thanks so much for coming on and joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate you having me here.
I know that with this whirlwind of everything, I know you had mentioned like, hey man, sorry the day just kind of got away from me, so I'm glad we were able to connect and still do this. But I want to share with everybody that's watching or listening right now, I know you're not originally from here in town. What originally brought you here to Lynchburg?
Yes, I've had quite the Homer's Odyssey adventure in my lifetime throughout both my career. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana originally. Lived there, born and raised. But my father and I went into business together. Not long after I moved home from college, he opened up a copier dealership in the greater New Orleans area. We thrived there. We actually took on a partner, expanded out to the Atlanta area, and so I lived back and forth between Louisiana and Atlanta for several years. This was back in 2008, as most people remember. 2008 when we opened the business, that was a rough time to go into business for yourself. But we survived to keep our head above water. In about 2010 or so, we decided to close the business down. The trend we saw in our industry was a lot of businesses were looking for used copiers, and this was back when my industry was certainly more copier centric. In this day and age, it's not necessarily the case anymore. But at the time, it was very copier centric, and we had new inventory. Most people wanted used inventory. So in about 2010, we decided to close the business down. We had a business partner whose wife had some health issues, and just kind of perfect storm of things. I was actually looking forward to move back to Louisiana, but the opportunities just weren't there like they were in Georgia and then eventually North Carolina. So I moved to Raleigh, met my wife there. During that time, my father actually moved to Lynchburg, Virginia to work for Virginia Business Systems as the sales manager for Lynchburg and Roanoke. After him being here close to a year, he reached out to me and said he had a position open. We're a family-owned business. He needed a sales rep that had experience, that he didn't have to spend time training in Lynchburg. I was not keen on moving to Lynchburg at first. Before Lynchburg taxed me for it, my entire vision of Lynchburg was, or impression of Lynchburg was when I went to visit my dad in Good.
Okay.
So I really didn't know anything was here at the time. But during that time period, my wife and I discovered we were expecting our son, who's now 6 years old. And really, when I took a look at things, both from raising a child as well as income and cost of living, Lynchburg seemed to be an ideal place. I went to interview with my dad's boss at the time, the VP of sales, and really his passion for the company really got me excited about it. So I talked my wife into it. We took the leap and moved up here in 2015. And quite honestly, I fell in love with the place right away. I promised her we were going to stay no more than 2 years. And here we are, 6 years later almost, and I've been blessed enough to get plugged into the community here. I love the business community of Lynchburg. The people I've gotten to know, the friendships I've made here. It's been a wonderful experience.
Now, with growing up in New Orleans, have you been able to find coffee, or are you having to truck it in?
Amazon has my coffee, but I do. It's funny. Not a lot of people catch the whole coffee and chicory trend.
Yeah.
I'm preaching about it all the time. Like, if you want good coffee, I've tried to talk all the local coffee shops to come up with their own blend or whatnot. But I order cafe de monde coffee by the pallet almost from Amazon.
So if anybody wants a special Tim King Jr. blend, you heard it. Make it happen.
Cafe de monde.
So with that, so your dad was in the copier industry. Is that kind of what got you started on that path, or was like first thing out of school? That's what you were doing?
Not the first. The first thing out of school was actually deal with selling yellow page advertising, because that was still a thing when I first graduated college.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, there used to be a yellow page and a white page, and it wasn't .com.
It was not.
It was a real thing.
And if you wanted to find a product or service, you went to the yellow pages. is. So my first job out of college was selling yellow page advertising. My dad had been in this industry my whole life. He was working for Konica Minolta directly at the time, and then he left there and decided to open up his copy dealership. So I've been in sales for about a year and a half when he opened up his copy dealership, and I joined him with that shortly after, and have been in it essentially ever since then, going 11 years now.
So when you first moved up here, Dad was in Good. You were learning what real Lynchburg was.
Where I was, yeah.
What were some of those challenges as far as to begin with when you were plugging into a new community and you were trying to go out and create some relationships with that?
Quite honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't face a lot of challenges. Lynchburg, and honestly, it's one of the first things I love about Lynchburg. It is so welcoming here. I mean, the people here are great. When I'm out and about day to day, I meet just as many people that are transplants like myself to Lynchburg as I do native Lynchburg people. I mean, and you can't tell. I mean, other than an occasional accent, you can't tell who's been here all their life and who hasn't, because everybody here is just such a community, such a one community. I say if I had to name one challenge when I first moved here, it really more as a kind of a mindset, is I've always lived in bigger cities, so kind of understanding that dynamic moving here was a little different, but not much. I mean, honestly, not much. The part of New Orleans I'm from, it's a suburb of New Orleans, Bainville, and it's similar to Lynchburg. We had New Orleans right there in our backyard, so a little different. But as far as the pace of life, the friendliness of people, it was very similar. So I acclimated pretty quickly.
Yeah, I laugh. You said that people are so welcoming. We moved back up here, my family, after 4 years that we've been down in Orlando. We came back to Lynchburg. And our dog ran away like the second day we were in our new house. We live out in Campbell County. And I was going around to the neighbor's house knocking on it, say, hey, if you see, we knew with the direction that she had went, but we said, hey, if you see her, let me know. So I went 2 houses down. I was knocking on the door. I said, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm your neighbor 2 houses down. Our dog ran away. And I hear from inside the house, come in. I said, sir, I've never met you, and you've never met me. Are you sure? He said, come in, I'm eating. So I said, I knew I was back in Lynchburg when it was so welcoming that sight unseen, never met, that just come on in. Sitting there eating his lunch, his little granddaughter sitting in a seat, and just sit down. He's like, no, sit down. I'm sweating, chasing the dog. So it's funny you say with that. It is a totally different place with that. It's very unique.
We had this technician that used to work for us with the company for years. He started with the company when he was, I think, 18 years old, 19 years old maybe. And before I moved here, before I was even working for the company, I always hear about this technician. My dad favored him, great kid. We talk about him often, just again how he's a Bedford boy. Just what a great personality he had, just a welcoming guy he was, just an old soul kind of guy. And when I joined the company, it's like, and he was that way to me. I mean, it's like we both know each other for, I know he heard about me and I'd heard a lot about him, and it's like we know each other all this time, and he helped me out a great deal, and he eventually moved into sales, and we worked side by side together for a couple of years, and it was a great experience. It's like, he became a little brother to me, and all because of that, that Lynchburg, Bedford, Central Virginia kind of attitude. Just everybody's welcome, everybody's a neighbor.
It is a communal relationship for sure with that. So I know you're heavily involved with the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance, right?
Certainly.
So you're on the board of directors with that.
Actually, I'm former board member.
Former board member.
I was the ambassador chair for a year, served on the board there. I've been an ambassador with the Alliance for 5 years now, I think.
Okay. So what was it that motivated you to get out and make a commitment like that?
Well, quite honestly, that I got involved with them to begin with. I saw we had a membership, and I had done stuff with chambers in other places I've lived, Raleigh and New Orleans certainly. So I always knew there was a benefit from a business standpoint to being involved in a part of the chamber. But when I first started working with the Lynchburg Chamber, it was still the Lynchburg Chamber. Mm-hmm. And I certainly saw value there, and they were going through the merger. And like a lot of businesses in the region at the time, I was very nervous as to what that looked like. Because some of the things I saw, the leadership with Christine Kennedy, that the Lynchburg Chamber had. The connections with the community were very strong. I think they did things a little differently than a lot of other chambers I had worked with in the past did. So I was nervous to lose that. But when they came through the other side as the Alliance, and after meeting Megan Lucas and some of the other staff members that came from the Region 2000 side of things, Jamie Class, they were even stronger. The dynamic duo of Megan and Christine have been phenomenal. It's that organization that really is responsible for me getting plugged into the community the way I did to begin with. A lot of the early relationships I developed, both from a friendship standpoint as well as a business connection standpoint, were through the Alliance. So I saw the value right away. It impacted my business, impacted my personal life, and I wanted to find a way to help other people that were moving to the region, people that were maybe had been here all their life but weren't involved in the business community. I wanted them to experience the same thing.
So what were some of those other relationships outside of that maybe were important for you as you were getting up and going here in the community?
As a specific people, or?
Yeah, the community, people, organizations, anybody?
Yeah, well, as far as organization goes, the other organization I got plugged in with right away, and I met through the Business Alliance, was CASA and Central Virginia. That's kind of my other big passion. For those of you that aren't familiar, CASA and Central Virginia is a nonprofit serving abused and neglected children in our communities, and we serve basically the Region 2000 area, Nelson, Bedford, Campbell, Lynchburg City, Amherst, and then Appomattox. And basically when a child is removed from their home due to abuse and neglect, they're placed into temporary custody in the foster care system. As their court case is going through the court system, it's one of our specially trained advocates that do and these are volunteers, highly trained, devote a lot of time to it, advocates that do independent third-party investigations into the situation, and they advocate for the ideal permanent placement for that child, whether it's back with their family, whether it's with extended family members, whether it's in an ideal foster care home. They help advocate for what's best for that child. It's somebody with no prejudice towards one side or another for that child. I first met Allison Strunz, our executive director, through the Business Alliance Expo that we used to host at Liberty. She was advocating for CASA, and they were getting ready to have a superhero run, so she was decked up in a I think it was as Batgirl, if I remember correctly. I was like, well, this looks fun, this looks cool. I went over and we met, we were just networking, and as I found out really what CASA did, we set up a follow-up meeting, and I went to her office, and really when I heard about what CASA did, it hit right in the heart. I'm like, I want to get plugged in here. This is something I want to do. And that's not for for business reasons or anything. For my personal passion, giving back to children in need. The children are the most vulnerable in any community. So being able to serve them meant a lot to me. So I got plugged in there. Been with the board there for 5 years. Through them, I got plugged in with Mustaches for Kids, which is a whole other group of just crazy great guys, also doing what they can to serve the children in our community. Mustaches for Kids raises money for the month of November by growing stupid-looking mustaches while raising money, and all that money collected gets divided up between all the local children's charities of the Lynchburg region.
Fantastic. So I know obviously family means a lot to you. In fact, being a dad is one of the things listed on your LinkedIn, like your resume with that,
it's
right?
Important.
So what does family mean for you?
It means everything. I've been blessed to have a really great family growing up, not just my immediate family. I was always blessed to be close to my extended family. My grandmother and aunt back home, very close to them. Spent many a day growing up at my grandmother's house. She means I still speak to her most nights, stay in touch with her, and then got married. Happily married, blessed to have my wife and son. They're the world to me too. And with that comes a whole set of in-laws. And with her, I got 2 sets of in-laws. So I've grown to a pretty big family. But living here in Lynchburg, I guess the one thing I've discovered is family's not always blood. And I've got a lot of great people here in Lynchburg that I also feel blessed to call family.
Fantastic. So how do you want to be remembered here in Lynchburg, in this community, for the impact that you're making?
There are so many different ways to answer that. You know, I'm often a lighthearted guy. I like to make sure people have a smile on their face. But I guess if I had to choose one thing to be remembered for Lynchburg, it's somebody that gave back. Because I do love this community, and I do love the causes that I mentioned quite a bit. And whether I move away tomorrow, or or one day, I'm just gone from this earth and it's from Lynchburg, I certainly hope to remember somebody that left Lynchburg a little better than what it was when I got here.
Fantastic. So if people want to keep up with yourself, what you're doing in the community, the causes that you care about, or even just to get more information about your business and how you service the community, where can they find you?
I would certainly encourage them to go to our company's website, which is vabusinesssystems.com. We're actually getting ready to start sending a whole bunch of different media content. I'll be contributing to some of that media content. I don't post on LinkedIn as much as I used to, but I'm trying to get back to that, sharing that content. But more than anything, I say find me on LinkedIn, check out our website, and look me up, connect with me. My email is tkingjr@vabs.net. I'd love to reach out to anybody, connect with anybody. I'm constantly at either the Muse out here in Windhurst, or downtown at White Hart or Mission House Coffee. I love connecting over coffee and just talking about this great place we call Lynchburg.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for being a part of the community, and until next time.
Thanks, Andy, for having me.